The last game of this episode is Wild Guns. This is another game I'm playing for the first time. The only awareness I've had of this game was Derek Alexander's old review back when he was the Happy Video Game Nerd. At the time I was just looking for games on the Virtual Console that might be interesting to try out for this show and thought, yeah, why not? This was actually downloaded at the same time as Castlevania. The game is set in a steampunk Wild West and follows our two playable characters. There's Annie, a woman out for revenge against the Kidd family who abducted and murdered her family. The other is Clint, a bounty hunter hired by Annie to help. Since this is a two-player game, I as usual did two playthroughs. My first playthrough was alone as Annie, and my second with my long-suffering player 2 had me playing as Clint. After choosing a character, you're dropped right into the first stage, Carson City. The game is basically a shooting gallery, with the player walking along the bottom of the screen shooting at enemies emerging from off-screen or behind the scenery. There's also a limited amount of bombs that wipe out the whole screen. I can't walk and shoot at the same time. Holding the fire button allows me to also move my crosshair. As you can see, one enemy walks up close to me and kills me while I have no idea how to deal with it at first. Pressing the fire button with an enemy up close will make you whack them. You can jump, and pressing jump while firing will make you do a dodge. There are power-ups too, picked up by shooting them after an enemy drops them. This one's a grenade launcher which has 50 bullets and is really strong but slightly slower than the regular gun. Last normal attack is the lasso by double tapping the fire button. It'll briefly stun most enemies. Once I survive long enough for the timer at the bottom to run out, we get our first mini-boss, a tall cowboy robot with machine guns on each hand. I still have the shotgun when I get to it, so despite my one death against it, it's easy. Once it's down, we start the second part of the level inside the restaurant. There's a guy behind the bar throwing dynamite at me, but since this is my first time playing, I don't realise I can throw the dynamite back. It's in this section I get the second power-up, a machine gun. I don't think I need to explain this one. So we also have guys rolling in on screen trying to shoot me, and these robots that drop in front and never try to shoot me. After a bit the boss walks in, just some guy in a suit with a gun who likes to make himself invincible by crawling along the floor. He actually sneaks in a shot and takes out my last life. It's one hit kills in this game with 3 lives. A game over will drop you off at the beginning of the level, which isn't too much of a punishment, for now. There's also unlimited continues, which is generous of them. Second time through I get the shotgun. It has a spread which lets me hit multiple enemies at once. Also in my second try one of these robots actually shoots at me and kills me. Aside from that it goes much smoother and I kill the boss. This leads to the third part containing the level's true boss, a gigantic robot with a Gatling gun hand. Being the first boss, it's a simple one. First it'll fire its gun along the ground a few times and then follow up with firing pairs of missiles aiming at where I'm standing. It does kill me once when I get distracted trying to pick up a machine gun. As more damage is dealt, the boss starts flashing. I appreciate that they made sprites for the boss reacting to being damaged. It's a minor thing and something they could have gotten away with not doing, but it makes your shots feel more powerful when you hit. Once it's defeated, its head and arm blow off and it sinks off screen. It was interesting doing the 2-player run afterwards, seeing player 2 making similar mistakes to what I was making when I first started the game. Also things I learned later on helping me out now, like stunning the mini-boss with the lasso, which I didn't know about during this level the first time. I should also point out that there are no differences gameplay-wise between the 2 playable characters, it's purely cosmetic. You may also notice that Annie's clothes are a different colour here. Each character has 4 palettes you can use. There isn't much else to say here. 2-player goes much quicker because I'm used to the game now and there's 2 of us. Player 2 does run out of lives in the second section like I did, but I managed to carry on and finish the rest of it off. After that you can choose the next 4 levels in any order you want. I just go with the boring order the game gave me, which means Desolation Canyon is next. For this level there's men hiding in bushes and robots emerging from the ground to shoot me. With a big machine that can fire lassos at me and dudes riding flying machines. You can tell I still haven't discovered the dodge yet, which is why I'm double jumping to avoid everything. For the first section boss we have a robot in a trench coat with 2 pistols. He ends up taking out the rest of my lives. Lives aren't replenished between levels, so in 2-player I'm usually letting myself die right away to bring player 2 back. I end up killing the boss on my second try but still lost a life in the first part. The second part takes place in this cavern where men are rising from the water to shoot me. But most of the enemies in this level are these flying machines with machine guns attached. You may notice the screen bar next to my gun that fills up as I shoot enemies. When it's full, I get used to the Vulcan until the bar empties. It is an incredibly powerful rapid fire gun with a big spread. It's great to get if you think you're getting overwhelmed by enemies. It's best when you get it at a boss though. Speaking of bosses, this part just has a differently coloured version of those machines. This one is always getting backed up by the regular ones and can also fire lassos at me. I lose 1 life to it, but I end up with a grenade launcher and destroy it. It still takes a lot of hits though. The level's main boss is this gigantic tank. It fires missiles that rain down on top of me and then I jump into its flamethrower expecting a somersault to protect me from fire. Next time I just stood still on the ground, but it saw that one coming. Then it flames along the ground, which I see coming, but then brings it back higher up, tricking me into jumping into it. Did you know that throwing a lasso size through a human at a gigantic flamethrower does nothing at all? But it doesn't matter, the cannon is the only spot it can be damaged and I end up with a couple power-ups. This means I beat the boss on my 3rd try. It takes 2 attempts on 2-player. You can tell how much quicker a partner and my experience are getting us through. About 24 minutes to beat these first 2 levels alone, about 12 with both of us. Let's stick with this run for the ammunition depot. Once again we have the usual gunmen along with this minigun off to the right. The boss for the first section is once again the robot in the trench coat. We do a lot of damage by having player 2 keep shooting while I trap it with repeated lassos. But then we get 2 sticks of dynamite thrown in. Player 2 dodges the first, but when the second comes in, dodges back onto the first. We still don't know we can throw it back. Last life too, the boss dies not long after. Second section is inside. We have guys with shields and small tanks passing by. When I get down to 20 seconds there's a new flying machine, but it doesn't last long. This is probably the easiest second section in the game for me, which is why I don't have much to say. Even the boss is another repeat, this time the cowardly crawling man from the first level. The flying things show up during this too, but they don't help him out much. The guy does sneak in a bullet through my own so I don't see it and get killed. Then I'm killed by him through sheer ignorance moments later. But right after I'm back he takes too many bullets and deflates. The boss is this weird floating pod with a scorpion stinger. It fires bullets at me and there are gunmen coming in through the sides. But that's about all that happens because I got the Vulcan not long after starting and I do enough damage to first crack the glass and then destroy the whole thing. I also get another 100,000 points which gives an extra life. Not that it matters because I let myself get killed in the next level to bring back player 2. Swapping back to my first run for the gold mine. First we have these tiny guys sliding down the mountains in the distance looking like lemming sprites to take care of. Followed by dynamite guys in minecarts, but then a flying blimp looking machine comes in and shoots me down. Sometimes I also have minecart guys coming up close to get a whack. First section boss is another of those tall robots from the first level's first section. Since I figured out the lasso at this point, it's easy. Second section is in front of some massive drill. Along with the gunmen we have men riding on minecarts juggling a stick of dynamite. Remember the player 2 dodging from one stick of dynamite into another thing from last level? Well here I do the same thing with a double jump because I still hadn't discovered dodging. At the point the red robots from earlier turn up, I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed, but I pull through it. Instead I take a bullet after dealing with them. The boss for this section is the orange bit above the drill itself. It has 2 machine guns that lower in from the top of the screen that shoot out a spread of 3 bullets each. They don't need a lot of shooting before they blow up though. They do come back though, and I game over. On my second try I die before even making it back to that boss. On my fourth try I can't believe my terrible luck. I had the Vulcan but it runs out just as the boss activates. Thankfully I still had a shotgun from before, and a bomb, so I blow off the orange paneling and get to shoot in the orb in the middle. It also doesn't last long. This brings me to the next boss, a giant robot crab. It raises its front legs and tries trapping me in some lassos before then trying to crush me. It does trap me at one point and just look how close this one was. That was terrifying. By the way, I can lasso this thing in the face to stun it. I don't know how, but I'm not complaining. But then it covers its face and finally manages to crush me under one of its legs. I get a grenade launcher but it opens up a little more and starts firing bullets around the screen. It has both a triple shot and a spray along the ground, but I managed to avoid everything else it throws at me, stun it and finish it off with a shotgun. First try for that boss. The last level to choose is the armoured train. This level was certainly memorable on my first run, but I'll get to that in a bit. When we start we already have guys in desert buggies and paragliders on screen, followed by guys on robot horses and missile launchers being transported by men on handcarts. Thanks to there being 2 of us and me having a machine gun, the second one of those only gets to fire off 1 missile, followed by loads of buggies and gliders before the boss shows up, another train with a gun and a cannon. We blow up the cannon first and after using a bomb, the gun doesn't last long either. While the gliders are still showing, we also have men clinging to the side of the train trying to get in range of us. This boss isn't like the others. Instead of just destroying it, we have to survive another time limit before we move on to the next carriage. This level is unique in that it takes place entirely on one screen. This carriage has another gun and loads of guys jumping up from behind the crates up on the top. Gun is destroyed in no time and the rest of it is trivial with 2 of us. Then there's the front of the train which actually takes one of our lives right away. It has 2 pairs of missile launchers on the top and a part at the back that fires bullets and lassos, getting me killed. With me using a bomb and both of us firing at the back, we take that out too and move on to the boss. This time it's a man flying all over the screen with a jetpack throwing dynamite at us while horse riders pass by in the back. I even pick up some of the dynamite without realising but die soon after before I can notice. The guy will also drop down in front of us ready to knife us but we can whack him away. I get the Vulcan after he starts flashing and finish him off. That was our first attempt at the level in this run. Know how long it took in my original solo run? Over a pissing hour. I just could not beat the thing. I don't know if this is normal for a first run, but I doubt it. I feel it says a lot about this game's enjoyability that I stuck with it repeating a 5 or so minute stage that long. It's also a level where I finally learned to dodge. I just kept coming back wanting to beat it, the only indication that I'd spent that long on it being the timer on my recording software. So beating it first try in the second run felt very nice. But we're back to that first run for the final fight. We're in front of some sort of aircraft fighting two of the first mini-bosses who kill me right away. I both lose a life and gain another later on before I finally defeat them both. Taking out both of them sends me to the next screen, the kid's money vault. This one starts me off with the trenchcoat robots and the ceiling guns from the mine before bringing in a missile launcher later on. While I'm at it, I love this level's music. It's the one that stuck in my head the most after I finished the game. Don't know if it's my favourite though, there's a lot of good music in this game. The boss is once again Cowardly Man from the restaurant, and unlucky for him, I got the Vulcan just before he showed up. Unlucky for me, he wasted a lot of his time crawling around. Didn't even start flashing. I lose another life to one of the robots, but I defeat the boss with the grenade launcher. No final boss yet, this level is 4 screens long. I'm still in the vault but outside a big door. We had the gunmen, knife guys and the little tanks in this section. The boss of this section is the big gun above the door. It fires loads of bullets in a circle around where you're standing. Also, one of the drones from earlier shows up, conveniently blocking the gun so you both can't damage it and have trouble telling when it's ready to fire, leading me to a game over. It's not until a few tries later that I make it back but lose my last life dodging into the corner the boss is firing at. I get back next time and get the Vulcan so I can finish that boss off and move on to the kid. He runs around the screen throwing dynamite and walking up close to me so I can knock him back. He has gunmen as backup, these 2 guns that fire 3 bullet spread, and can fire bombs that create a flame pillar where they land. I end up losing my last life, not noticing one of the guns. Next time I get there I daren't move because of everything on screen and he just walked up to me and whacked me with his gun. I just can't get to the guy with any extra lives left. This time I at least managed to get 2 bombs there which destroy his guns, instead one of his bombs gets me. My next try went really well at first. I managed to trap him with the lasso a lot and even got him flashing, but once again those bombs got me. At this point if I die during the first section, I just let them take the rest of my lives. It's not for another 10 minutes I get back to the final boss, and once again it's with no extra lives. But this time I have all 3 bombs with me. Not just that, but I managed to avoid everything that comes at me and finally defeat him. That took just under an hour. The 2-player run only needed 4 attempts. I did lose player 2 in the second section, but I managed to make it through the rest. I even had an extra life this time, which I lost when he was just a couple bullets from defeat. The character who defeats him says he must pay for his crimes, and we cut to outside where they jump out to the front while the whole ship explodes and the kid is seen flying into the distance. Then the credits roll. That's about it. There is this target practice minigame where both players can compete over who has the better accuracy. Not much else to say about it. And that's it for Wild Guns, a very enjoyable game that's challenging without being frustrating. It plays great, looks great and sounds great. I know there was a remake in the last few years but I don't have it so we'll have to save that for another time. I don't know how it compares to this original version, but this is definitely the best of the 3 games in this episode. I definitely recommend it if you ever feel like dealing with the ball ache that buying digital games on the Wii U has become. Final comment. Thank fuck this one was short after the State of Emergency video. Over 2.5 years after covering the original Wild Guns, I'm finally getting around to the updated version, Wild Guns Reloaded. So for this video, since I already looked at the original version all the way back in episode 7, I'm only going to cover the new content. If you want to hear me talk about the original levels, I'd recommend checking that video out, with the warning that it is still early on in the channel, so it may not be very good. First I'll bring up that the target shooting practice mode has been removed. It's not a big loss, but it does mean that mode's song was the only track to not get remixed in this game. In terms of new things, there's a load of difficulty options. Easy is basically the original game. It's what I go through at first with the original game's 2 characters, Clint and Annie, to get used to how the game feels again. Since the game has been remade with much bigger screens in mind, there's more going on, which now means some enemy patterns had to be changed to accommodate the larger screen space. This also changes up the strength of the explosive special attack, as it only covers the same amount of space it did in the original, without being expanded to fill the entire screen. The graphics were redone as well, and they're so close to the original while still being improved that it can trick you into thinking that the game always looked as it did in this version. Another thing is that the entire soundtrack was redone, and it's really rare for me to find a rearranged soundtrack where I prefer every single remix to the originals, but this game is one of them. Carson City, while not my favourite or least favourite track in either version, is one I feel was especially made better. Another addition is every character starting with 4 colour schemes to choose between, with more unlocked through beating the game as those characters. So with that, let's finish my first playthroughs as Clint and Annie to unlock their 5th colours. Beating the game on easy also unlocked hard and boss rush modes, but first I'm going with normal and choosing one of the 2 new characters added in this version, Doris. While Clint and Annie were both all-rounders, with Annie being a bit faster but weaker, they were both pretty similar. Doris is an entirely different experience to play as. She's more of an expert character. She moves slowly and doesn't even have a gun. Instead she throws sticks of dynamite. You can increase the amount of sticks she throws to cover a larger area and deal more damage. And when she throws lassos to stun the enemies, she'll throw 3 at once to cover a wider area. Picking up weapon upgrades does nothing for her but give you points. She also has a ground pound, creating huge shockwaves along the ground. Doris can be tricky to get used to, but when you do, she's incredibly fun when you really get into it, just blowing everything up as soon as it gets on screen. So the big change for normal difficulty is a new level. Desolation Canyon has been removed from the pool and replaced with a level that was planned for the original but scrapped, the Underground. This was where I realised having my first run as the expert character who I've never played as before, beyond the harder mode that has a new level I've never played before, might result in some trouble. As this was a level that took me 40 minutes to get past the first time, and skimming through it all, none of my game overs were very interesting, so I'll skip right to my successful attempt. Much of the screen is covered in a dark fog, lit only by me, the light of my weapons, and the lights on certain robots. I start off with little flying robots and lines of robots passing themselves off as zombies. Those last ones only die when a certain one is hit, otherwise they get stunned but keep going. Then come robots hiding in the kitchen carrying fake monster heads with light up eyes to try and pretend to be scary. A guy in a hockey mask tries to sneak up on me, but Doris doesn't need a melee weapon, she just punches him out. The mini-bosses are 2 decaying, shambling robots acting like zombies. They don't get to do anything as after 40 minutes, I know their pattern off by heart and stunlock them to death. But a third one sneaks on screen from the other side and has its own go at shooting me. A few more keep coming in as I destroy them, and in the end I have to destroy 6 of them to move on to the second section. The second part is going down a lift in a huge foundry, with loads of buckets of molten metal in the back. I have robots standing on those flinging some of the metal at me, and these long robot snake centipede things that fire from every segment but can only be damaged on the heads. When the meter fills, Doris doesn't have her own version of the machine gun, but for her she can quickly throw more dynamite and the charge starts at 3 instead of 1 until the bar runs out. I also get an extra life here from the enemies when I hit a score multiplier on all 7 fully charged bombs with the small flying ones. As I get further down, I also get these machines that come in from the side and open themselves up to reveal several miniguns. I then reach the next mini-boss and get my first death from him. He's that same skinny guy a few other levels have that likes to cower and crawl around on the floor to make himself invincible. Except he's the hardest version of this boss since he can end up completely hidden behind the shadows. Next comes the boss, this giant horned robot with 4 hands. The weak point is the head, but I have to stay between those horns as the head moves as they'll send out electricity towards the ground. The hand in the middle left of the screen will go in for a punch that covers about half the screen, same with the middle right as I take out the head, leaving another part underneath. The hand on the top right fires a laser that goes along the opposite side of the screen. Your first instinct may be to go that way to avoid it, but you need to go under the firing hand instead. And once again the hand on the top left does the same thing for the opposite side. I take out the head fully and it starts swaying side to side as now the chest is vulnerable. I blow it open to reveal the heart as the arms now acting faster, some starting up their attacks before the previous hand has finished theirs. The bottom hands will even slam themselves together, requiring a jump to dodge. I get clipped by that attack twice, but at this point I'm throwing out all the bombs I've saved up to ensure I win this damage race. This one wasn't my favourite level in the game, sometimes the fog did get on my nerves, but I still enjoyed it and it really forced me to properly learn how Doris plays. Though it backfired when I got too used to that level's layout and couldn't get used to the final fight, meaning defeating Kid at the end took a further hour, unlocking Doris's 5th colour. Now that leaves hard mode, which I'll be going through as the other new character, Bullet, a dog being backed up by a drone. How it works is that Bullet and the drone are separate objects. While the drone shoots, you can still move Bullet around. You only lose a life if Bullet is hit, but the drone being hit shorts it and you can't shoot for a couple seconds. The drone also has a lock-on when it gets close to an enemy. The big difference is you can't aim the drone as it's firing as you do with everyone else. You have to let go of the button to make it move again. You can also cling onto the drone and have it fly you out of danger for a little bit. I think Bullet is supposed to be a beginner-friendly character, taking away the hard part of the game that prevents you from moving as you're shooting, but I actually struggled with Bullet at first. I found having two things to keep an eye on at once led to me getting distracted and killed a lot more than I did as Clint and Annie, but I did get used to him and go through the rest easily enough until I reached the new level. Speaking of, Hard once again removes Desolation Canyon for Underground, but this time it also removes the ammunition depot in favour of the flying ship. Once again, this level took me 40 minutes to get past first time, so let's skip ahead to the successful attempt. To start with, I have robots with propellers flying in, followed by this guy pedalling a bike through the air held up with balloons and with a cannon on the back. Then this rich guy just floating by who I can shoot money out of for points. He also throws sticks of dynamite that I throw at this passing hot air balloon to take out its passengers. Those then loop until time runs out and the next wave starts. After a large amount of projectiles, a large ship with 4 guns flies in from the background. I hang on the opposite side of the screen holding fire on the engine in the back until it goes down. A second one shows up and is defeated by the time running out to let the third wave in. The third wave is more returning stuff until a large ship comes in from the background and the screen is just filled with enemies, 2 smaller ships and a load of propellers. I can't shoot much as my drone is constantly being hit. I lose a life here too. But the timer hits 0 and takes all but the main ship out, which is this level's mini-boss. It takes damage from the engine in the back, but it will constantly fly it off screen, leaving me with just the cannons to shoot and with more propellers coming down. The cannons are easy to avoid, so I ignore them and focus on just the enemies and the engine when it comes back on screen. That takes it down quickly enough. That leaves the boss, which is this huge ship with 3 orbs rotating around it. Ignore those, the weak spot is nowhere near the middle. It's these red flashy parts and the wings that are rarely seen on screen until the ship drifts left to right, as it does when following you across the screen. The main machine guns are easy enough to avoid. If you hit the red orbs, they will fire a ton of bullets towards you. Basically, never use your bombs on this boss unless you really have to. I take out one wing and at this point it starts firing all the cannons on the sides, but as long as you stay in the middle you're fine. As I try baiting the other wing on screen, enough black orbs build up that they prepare to spam the screen with bullets, so I have to use my bomb, managing to avoid the resulting red orb attack. It takes a while as the ship moves faster now, but I eventually take out the other wing. This destroys the orbs and finally lets me shoot the cockpit, and since I got the shotgun it goes down in no time. That was my favourite of the new levels. Excellent music, cool enemy designs, and the boss mixes things up to stop my usual strategies, so I have to mix up my gameplay as well. I then plough through the final stage easily and unlock Bullet's 5th colour. Now for the rest of the unlockables. I use beginner difficulty to quickly go through as Clint 3 more times to unlock his other 3 colours. When it comes to Annie, I went through on hard to get 2 things knocked off my list at once. First off, I just wanted to try out the new levels with one of the original game's more simple characters just to see how it feels. The second is to unlock the Super Nintendo soundtrack, which is only done by finishing the game on a difficulty above beginner without having to use a continue. And I manage it, getting retro sound mode. What's cool about this is that even the 2 new songs for the new stages got Super Nintendo versions made as well. I don't know if they were already made years ago but scrapped, or they went backwards from the originals in this version to make them, but it's much appreciated. And then the rest of them. All that's left is the boss rush, which I'll do as Annie again since she got me the retro sound mode. I was pretty cocky, thinking I'll get it first try, but fail at the very end. But I get it on the second try with 3 lives left. Nothing unlocked there, just done for the fun of it. And there's Wild Guns Reloaded. I know there was one criticism about the multiplayer suddenly taking away the unlimited continues, and that is an issue, but for someone who mostly plays alone, it didn't get the chance to become an issue for me. In the end, I thought this improved on the original Wild Guns in just about every way. The new characters and new stages felt like they were always there, and that new soundtrack is just amazing. There's really not much else to say. If you'd count this game and the original as a series, this would be the 3rd series I've completed on this channel, after Dark Seal and State of Emergency, and so far it's the best one overall. We went from a bland game and its okay sequel, to a surprisingly good game and its incredibly disappointing sequel, to a very good game with an even better remake. It's just nice to end a series on this channel on a positive note for the first time. It's a shame we never got anything else from Wild Guns, but I'm grateful for what we have.